My mother-in-law liked to say I was crazy, and my husband always backed her up. Then one night, I walked out of the house without leaving a note. I sent just one email. By the time they opened it, everything had already changed, but it didn't begin that night. It had been happening for years, slowly, the way water wears down stone. Every comment from my mother-in-law chipped away at me. You're too sensitive. You exaggerate everything. And my husband would nod along, like he was confirming that I really was the problem. I started questioning myself. Some days, I would stare at my reflection and wonder if maybe I really was losing my mind. If all of this existed only in my head. We lived a very ordinary life in a regular American city middle class, renting a house, 2 cars still on payment plans, credit cards that never quite reached zero. I worked part-time. He worked full-time. His mother stayed with us often, sometimes for a few days, sometimes for weeks. She always claimed she was there to help, but before long, it felt like even breathing needed her approval. She criticized how I raised the kids, how I handled money, how I failed to keep my husband happy. Whenever I found the courage to talk to my husband about it, he dismissed me. Mom just worries. He'd say, you take everything too personally. That sentence shattered me every time because it told me he wasn't listening. He wasn't really seeing me. One evening, I came home exhausted and found my clothes piled on the couch. My mother-in-law said, I cleaned the room, you don't need all this, without even looking up. My husband added, she's right, you hoard things. I said nothing. But I didn't sleep at all that night. After that, I started writing things down, not a diary, just notes in my phone, dates, exact words. Small moments, not to show anyone, but to remind myself that I wasn't imagining it. When people keep telling you you're crazy, holding on to the truth becomes a way to survive. That night was unusually quiet. My mother-in-law stayed in her room. My husband watched TV. I tucked my kids into bed, studied their peaceful faces, and felt something inside me finally break. I realized that if I stayed, my children would grow up believing women were meant to stay quiet, that their voices didn't matter. I grabbed a bag and packed only the essentials, a few clothes, the kids' documents, a charger, and my phone with all my notes. I didn't leave a note. I knew it would be twisted against me. I walked out silently, closed the door, and got into the car. My hands were shaking, but I turned the key anyway. I drove straight to a friend's house, the same friend who had told me for years, if you ever need me, just call. She opened the door without hesitation and didn't ask a single question. She just said, you're safe. That was enough to make me cry. Later that same night, I sent the email. It was short and clear. I wrote that I was leaving, that I would take care of the kids, and that any further communication should go through a lawyer. I didn't accuse anyone. I didn't pour out my emotions. I simply stated the facts. By morning, my phone was flooded with messages. First from my husband, then from my mother-in-law, anger mixed with concern, followed by the familiar line, you're not okay. I didn't respond. I woke the kids, made breakfast, and for the first time in years I felt like I could actually breathe. Nothing magically became easy. There were lawyer meetings, school transfers, and the stress of finding somewhere new to live. Eventually, I found a small apartment in a cheaper part of the city where buses ran often. The walls were bare and the rooms echoed, but the quiet finally belonged to me. One day at the community center, I met a woman named Jane. She looked at me and said, you're not alone. It wasn't a miracle, just words, but they meant everything. I picked up more hours at work, spent real time with my kids, and slowly, the voice in my head calling me crazy began to fade. My husband eventually read the email. Maybe he read it sitting beside his mother. Maybe that was the moment he realized I was truly capable of leaving. But by then, it didn't matter. I wasn't going back to a home where my sanity was questioned, and my voice ignored. I still have moments of doubt. But then I hear my children laughing, relaxed and unafraid, and I know the truth. I was never crazy. I was just alone, and the moment I chose myself, everything started to change. My mother-in-law used to say I was crazy. My husband stood by her. Now I understand that leaving quietly can be its own kind of strength, and when they finally opened that email, it really was too late.